I should quit my primary job? Yeah, okay, by user JJHawk84. About 16 years ago, I was working as a greeter at Olive Garden as a second job just to make ends meet. The day before Mother's Day I was about 10 minutes late punching into work. I was coming from my primary job, changed clothes when I got there and punched in. The manager immediately pulled me aside and said that I needed to be more courteous to my co-workers and show up on time as my being late affects other people. I responded that I was aware and I did call in to let them know I would be late and that the person who answered was the person I was taking over for and that she said to take my time because she was just going home and spending the night in alone, no big deal. The manager laid into me. She told me that I'm not the type of person that can hack having two jobs, that I was too inconsiderate to work two jobs, and that maybe I should choose which job I value more and quit the other one, and that if I quit the Olive Garden that I would not be welcomed back. Initially, I thought, well, I'm not going to let you chase me away. But then I realized, this is a second job. I don't have to be here. I don't have to let her talk to me that way. I went home and told my S/O, who also worked there as a second job, what was said. We mutually decided that I should quit the Olive Garden. So I went in for my morning Mother's Day shift wearing my street clothes, went to the back office to find the manager, and said, so, I put a lot of thought into what you said and have decided that you were right and working here, for you, is not for me anymore. She looked stunned and said, well, you are going to work today, right? You know Mother's Day is our busiest day of the year, you can't just up and quit, today of all days. I said, well, maybe this will be a lesson for you on how to speak to your employees and how to be a decent human being. Besides, you said yourself I'm too inconsiderate to work here and I walked out. Have not set foot in another Olive Garden since. I can't sleep in the same room as my boyfriend when I'm at your house? Fine, we won't sleep there, by useralera_queen. I was a recent college graduate who had made the immoral choice to move in with a boyfriend without getting married. We moved in together in another state about a 6-hour drive from my parents, who lived about 2 hours away from the boyfriend's parents. When we came back to visit, my parents made us sleep in separate rooms/beds because we weren't married. After a visit or two like this, Christmas holiday rolled around. We were planning to be in the state for the whole week between Christmas and New Year's, splitting the time between the two families. We start by spending 2 nights at my parents', then around dinner time the third day we leave to head to his parents'. My parents are surprised and confused that we are not staying longer, they expected us to split the time evenly. My reply: well, at his parents' house we get to sleep together, so we want to spend the night there. Before the next visit, they let us know they have decided that since we are a committed couple they will allow us to share a room even though we're not married. Is this what you want? Fine. The customer is always right, by user starsbear75063. I drive for Uber in the Dallas area and I received a ride request. I picked up the gentleman and it was a good ride. About 5 minutes in the rider asked me what was on my rear view mirror. I told him it was my interior cam. He got mad and told me to turn it off because he didn't like such surveillance. I reminded him that the Uber app would have said there was video recording. There are also signs on the door. He could have declined booking the trip if there was a problem. It escalated when he yelled, "You better turn that damn thing off or else." Or else, I asked. Yes, was the reply. Turn it off or stop this trip. I verified with him his request and he said, yes, turn the damn thing off or end this trip, to which I said, fine. Have it your way. I will comply. At that, I exited the highway and pulled into a convenience store. He acted a bit stunned before shouting, "What the hell are you doing?" I calmly stated, "You said either I stop recording or I end the trip. As I have no intention of stopping the recording, I am letting you out here." That did not go well for him as he started screaming and hurling vituperative abuse beginning with F, questioning my parentage, and although correctly guessing my sexual orientation was rather rude about it. I calmly ended the trip as per his request. That was the compliance. Here's the maliciousness, which although I'm very capable of, I rarely do. When ending the trip on the app, I gave him a 1-star rating as we can't give a 0. As he really was getting on my last nerve, I added feeling unsafe and abusive rider. As he continued to rant, I pointed to a police car that just pulled in and told him, "If you don't leave my car immediately, then perhaps you might want to explain why not to that nice officer." After getting a few more cutting jabs and getting out, he tossed his open protein drink at my head, hitting the headrest and spilling all over the floorboard. It was that time I got a text message from Uber support asking if I was all right. I said I was. They told me his account was suspended and asked if I could send the video clip to him. I said I would and also mentioned the mess. Uber support told me to just send them a picture and he would be charged a $75 cleaning fee, which I got within an hour. So I did exactly what the writer wanted, but due to his petulant behavior he got a cancelled Uber account and it cost him $75. If he would have just left, I wouldn't have done a thing but play stupid games. Win stupid prizes. Shut my mouth and get out of your bar? Okay, by user Indigao Ulf. I used to work at a bar, as the only female security. They'd had some very bad things happen when a man followed a woman to the bathroom, so they needed a woman that could keep an eye on what happened in there. This bar got in legal trouble all the time. The bathroom thing above, fire marshal closing them on some busy weekend nights for being way over capacity. The liquor board had pulled their license once already for overserving/serving minors with pretty obvious fake IDs. I was one of the new security hired to help resolve all this. It was so bad, we had to be trained by a government ATF person and get a card to prove we knew how to spot and stop overserves, and spot fake IDs. I think the real reason they hired us, was to have scapegoats on the ready for next time they did this. So, I worked there a while, doing my best. The owner's wife was the worst. She was always drunk, always had her friends in the bar and bent the rules for them. She thought she was Lady Jesus and we should all be kissing her feet, because she was the owner's wife. I mostly stayed out of her way and had no issues, but many co-workers complained about her. One night, some dude gets sick on the way to the bathroom, I cut him off, he ends up getting escorted out by his less drunk friends. I notice a man sitting at the bar watching this. He had creased slacks, a jacket indoors on a summer night, and no drink in his hand at a busy meat market dance club. I started watching him, and noticed the badge under his jacket. Aha! He was here to watch for overserving. A little later, a woman came to the bathroom, drunk enough to need to hold on the walls for dear life. I cut her off. She screams at me, then goes into the bathroom and tries to wash off the giant black Sharpie X's from the back of both hands. I warn her that she will be kicked out of the club if she continues. She screams again and staggers out of the bathroom. About 5 minutes later, owner's wife is in my face, screaming. The woman I had cut off was one of her friends, attending a bachelorette party in the VIP section, and I was supposed to somehow magically know she was VIP. I was also apparently supposed to break the law for her because she was VIP. So, she and I start a screaming match, where I inform her that her husband had hired me to make sure the law was followed. I also started to inform her about the police officer at the bar, but she screamed in my face to shut your mouth and get out of my bar. She fired me on the spot. I didn't bother waiting to see if her husband agreed, it was known she wore the pants. I complied. I shut my mouth and got out of her bar. I walked past the cop, still sitting at the end of the bar near the bathrooms, where the screaming match had taken place. I made eye contact with him, gave a slight nod, to which he responded by looking at the boss's wife, rolling his eyes, and smiling at me as I left. They got shut down that night for overserving the bachelorette party. This time, they went out of business because of too many strikes against them. Don't want to listen to me? Okay, enjoy ruining a VIP event, by user Tired Butt. Some background. I'm an audio engineer for one of the military bands in the US. Even though I've been working professionally in the music industry for many years prior to entering the military, my lower rank, E4 for those who care, is often a barrier with communicating with higher-ups. Some superiors see the value in my experience and advice, but many others see the rank and disregard my opinions. It's not uncommon for me to be loaned out to non-band events to provide guidance. Also, this story takes place during 2020, when the military was under WFH orders. On to the MC. I was in my barracks room, mixing some tunes on an average weekday when I get a call from my first sergeant, 1SG. He's essentially the head honcho in my unit, just under the commander. Hey OP, unit is having a battalion level change of command ceremony today, and they've had issues with their PA system in the past. Can you go help out and make things go smoothly? Totally. This was a fairly high-level change of command ceremony at the lieutenant colonel level, and the past few ceremonies had gone poorly due to technical problems. I was happy to help. I get prepped and make my way over to the location to start poking around the system. The gear being used is pretty beat up, and looks like they chuck it all in a dirty closet. Whatever, still turns on for now. I notice some people setting up the speakers behind the lectern, in a way that would feedback as soon as the mic was unmuted. Also, the cable runs were prime tripping hazards with no cable ramps or gaffer tape to hold them down. This isn't just a safety risk, it's also a good way to rip out all the connections from gear. There were a few other minor issues that needed fixing, but those were the most mission-critical problems. I go to find the person in charge and spot a sergeant major overseeing. I make my way over to him and introduce myself as the sound technician for the band, here to help and advise with sound stuff. Off the bat, he's a little short with me. What can I do for you, OP? We're a bit busy here. I reiterate I'm here to help with the PA, and condense my observations into words. I'm partway into explaining the dangers with his speaker placement when he cuts me off. This isn't our first rodeo, so we know what we're doing. At this point I'm still going to give it my best shot before this event train wrecks. I make my way over to the staff sergeant plugging in speakers and we start talking about placement and feedback. A minute or two later, the sergeant major comes over and interrupts us. Hey, didn't you hear me earlier? We don't need you here. You can fuck off. Roger that, Sergeant Major. So I go home, and report up why I wasn't able to help. The next day, my 1SG tells me how horribly the system was feeding back, along with crackles and pops. Totally derailed the vibe, to the point where the new lieutenant colonel chose to leave the lectern and just talk loudly instead of using the mic. Moreover, the commanding general of the base, a 3-star, had attended and was apparently very unhappy with the whole thing. And lo, the next week a memo comes down to me from the office of the commanding general to upgrade the sound system and put together a training on how to run it. Still makes me laugh thinking what that sergeant major's face must have looked like when they figured out that the only person qualified enough to advise them was the one he had told to fuck off.